our session 3. I received lots of comments, and please bear with us if we haven't answered them, because we really have to deal with many things. Now, I would like to go to session 3 so we can finish it on time. We have 3 papers here, and I think I am going to start this session. We're going to talk about quite an important part of our conversation about sustainability. I would like to start by the paper from Sudan, which is Trials for the Production of Sustainable Concrete in Sudan, by Dr. Eltahir, Elshaikh from Sudan University of Science and Technology, and Dr. Salma Mahmoud from University of Science and Technology in Sudan. There are 2 different universities. Even myself, I was confused. So one is Sudan University of Science and Technology, and one is University of Science and Technology. So I hope I'm getting them right, because I can't see Dr. Tayseer here, who's supposed to be the first paper. Now, Dr. Eltahir, are you available to present?
Hello, bro. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Alaikum assalam. Dr. Eltahir, thank you very much. Can you hear us okay?
Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing you.
And now we can hear you, but we can't see you. But you can go straight and share your screen. But before that, I would like to say a few words. Thank you very much for your time, and I very much appreciate your efforts. And particularly these days, I can see that happening in Sudan, in Libya. There's another country as well where there's severe shortage of electricity power supply.
Yeah.
So despite that, we very much appreciate, and we hope you now have some kind of power to try to present your paper. You're going to talk to us about a very important issue. This is something we are very interested in, and we have a team has done lots of work on this, particularly in the American University in Sharjah. We have people there have done lots of work in terms of green buildings and so on. So without any further ado, Dr. Eltahir is an experienced academics, and if you could also introduce Dr. Salma Mahmoud with you, and then start sharing your screen, and we are listening, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. You hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Hello, how are you? I am Dr. Eltahir from Sudan University of Science and Technology, and my colleague, Dr. Salma Muhammad Mahmoud from University for Science and Technology. We have the group research. Our presentation about the trial of production of sustainable concrete in Sudan. We also know concrete is the most widely consumed material in the building industry. We have a lot of resource in concrete or in material concrete now. We need about to find another resource for concrete because the concrete now have a lot of material. This resource, the demand of it with the time, we can take more time. This study emerged as the result of realizing the need for innovative material and practice in the building industry to preserve the virgin material. We need to search about another material for concrete to keep the material sustainable, because the cement or manufacture of cement now have a lot of unfriendly material. We have in our research or scientific research, we have a lot of trials. We have about 9 trials, but now the result for 5 trials. We need to find these trials about behavior on concrete, like workability, like compressive strength, like durability. What happened if we add some of this material to concrete or to workability test, or to compressive strength test? We have the 5 suggested scenario we explore to possible outcomes. This from the literature review from material we found in Sudan. This is the 5 suggested scenarios. We talk about one scenario and what is the result for other or for the scenario. Scenario number 1 اللي هم 100 recycle aggregate and natural بذلان a replacement of the coarse and cement in concrete mix. In Sudan, there is a lot of demolition of building. This scenario, we find or we need to find if add some of this recycled aggregate and some natural buzulana from Jabal Marra or whatever for this place. How can this increase compressive strength or increase workability or decrease or whatever? This is a scenario. The picture show how can we take the recycle aggregate and a trial number. In this scenario, you have 8 trials. Each trials have the cement, water, fine aggregate, natural aggregate, recycle aggregate, and buzulana, and some of the results of the properties of the recycle aggregate and natural aggregate we found in the result. If we compare about 8 scenarios in 7 and 28 days for compressive strength, the results show in 100 recycled aggregate and 10%, we found this is the optimum result. If we can in the concrete mix, recycle aggregate, we can use recycled aggregate for mixes and add 10% of the additing for cement. We have the optimum results. And slumped test or workability test for concrete, we have the results. Also, we find the optimum result in about 100 recycle and 10% of buzulana. This the all result of Islam test in the range of mixed design, about 30 or 60 millimeter to 180 millimeters. Also do some test ultra durability test for the recycle aggregate and natural buzulana. Also, we found the trial about 100 recycle aggregate and 10% buzulana. It is the optimum of this recycle. That is the trial number 1. Trial number 2, he talk about steel slag replacing fine aggregate and cement aggregate. He has the 3 stage. Stage number 1, Jiyat factory, south of city Khartoum. We collect the material. Step number 2, we do XRD tests. Was conducted on the BFS samples. Number 3, it was incorporated in the partial substantiation for sand and then cement. A standard mix and other 3 were the slag replaced 10 and 5 and 20. 10 and 15 and 20, and weight of sand, and 15 and 25 and 35 of the cement weight. Also, this we found all the workability in using steel slag in replacement of cement. The workability is decreased. Then in the 35%, the workability decrease. Also, the workability in 28 days increase in 35. If we using the steel slag in replacement of sand, the workability you see is the increase in 20%, but the workability is decrease in 20%. This is the scenario number 2. Scenario number 3, alternated sawdust replacing fine aggregate. Scenario number 4, also treated sawdust replacing in cement and aggregate. In this scenario, we have the 7 trials. Trials number 1, untreated sawdust. Trial number 2, unsocket sawdust. Trial number 3, unsocket trials replacement about 10%. Socket sawdust replacement by 10%, 20%. Trial number 6, the treatment change in hydroxide about 10%. And number 7, the treatment of the sawdust change to 20%. The sample of sawdust from the local local furniture market on Khartoum state. Then we collect the sawdust treated, then used in concrete mix, 7 cases. We have the conducted the compressive strength for 7 trials. We have some positive result for doing this result for treatment for using sawdust replacement for fine aggregate. Scenario number 4, sawdust as the partial replacement of cement. We collect the raw sawdust, some sawdust burning, some sawdust ash sieve analysis, using sieve analysis, and picture number 4, hard then sawdust concrete mix. This sawdust we use it in the concrete. Then doing the compressive strength and slump tests for 2 mix number 1 or mix number 2. If we look at the result, we find the compressive strength decrease for sawdust. If you are using sawdust about 10%, then increase we using sawdust about, or using percentage of sawdust 20%. The workability or the slump test, of sample using sawdust decrease about 20%. Then if we increase the percentage of sawdust used replacement of cement, the workability also decrease. Better results are achieved when the ash was used in replacement or cement. Slump value are within the design limit for 30 to 60 millimeter, and compressive strength is just as the target value within 20 replacement ratio. Scenario number 5, curry dust in the partial replacement of the sand. Curry dust is sediment of the reduced from the process of extracting and treating rocks. This collected from the manufacturing of cement, then using in the concrete mix. Curry dust from Omdurman, Sudan, and we have the 2 locations. We collect the sample from it, or the curry dust from Al-Jabalain, Sudan. We see the variables of the result for compressive strength. In replacement of for sand concrete mix containing 50, 25, and 35 of QD replacing cement. 15, 25, 50 were designed and prepared then. Curry waters workability fresh concrete was measured for all mixes and compressive strength. The replacement of the sand by 15 QD yield in the best result, and for the replacement of the cement about 25. The result confirms that the suitability of recycled aggregate for full replacement of natural coarse aggregate. Steel slag was the more appropriate in replacing sand than cement when added in the small percentage, not exist 50%. So sawdust need treatment to eliminate the variables or properties. The addition of QD replacement of 50% of sand offered a reasonable workability, but the compressive strength was only approaching the target value. According to these results, it could be inferred that the test option offer reasonable evidence to confirm there is the potentiality for producing green concrete for Sudan. I am told we have the more of these trials. We have about 8 trials, but this research we focus it on 5 trials. My colleague, Dr. Salma, tomorrow we talk about 1 trials of this about metakaolin in Sudan or kaolinite in Sudan. This is the one of the biggest trials we do it in our research. Thank you, Dr. Alam, Prof. Alam.
We very much appreciate, yes, you can stop the screen sharing now.
Okay.
We very much appreciate this, and we are grateful, and I can see that you are doing your very best, because we just received a message from Libya, from Professor Nasir, who has been for the last 2 to 3 days to find a single 1 hour to try to fix his presentation. He couldn't, and he said now he can't join us because of electricity. And I think this really is the issue quite seriously. We have been discussing this across the whole, lots of conferences in London and others. Africa's major developmental problem is electricity. This is being acknowledged by many people. When we come about sustainable development in Africa, all people, myself included, argue that if we can't fix the energy, and particularly the electricity in Africa, and I can tell you a figure, last year, I think I was in Oxford a year ago, and at that time, the figure I look at, the electricity produced by Korea is bigger than the entire African continent. When I said that, people were shocked. One country production of electricity is higher than the entire continent in Africa. And I think this makes a very nice transition. We will come back to you, Dr. Eltahir. Stay with us. I hope you can, whatever electricity you have now, will make you stay a little bit to listen to Dr. Tayseer, and then we'll come back, because she is going exactly to talk about what is being said as, or is being labeled as the leading, or the biggest, or the giant, or the most complex energy project in Africa. Of course, you know which dam we're talking about now. And before we start that, let me introduce Dr. Tayseer. And Dr. Tayseer is an experienced consultant in health and safety. In fact, he's one of the few earliest, I'm not saying oldest, you are still young, Dr. Tayseer, but one of the earliest consultant in this area. And many years ago, she contributed with other colleagues across the world to write the actual manual, which is being used worldwide and endorsed by the United Nations for people to understand in the workplace health and safety. So we are very privileged to have someone who is going to talk to us today about what is now seen as the most controversial political, economical, geopolitical, if you like, projects in Africa, which is the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia. And as you may have seen over the last, I don't know, 1 year, I myself have been interviewed 5 times by Al Jazeera just alone about this dam, because it does have lots of issues. And Dr. Tayseer has been a campaigner. She has argued massively about the health and safety and the risk and the hazard from this dam. Yes, we need to solve the electricity problem for Africa. This could be one of the projects which could contribute to that solution. But many people from the UK, from America, from all over the world, MIT spoke, and there's a couple of articles there. People from Egypt, governments, ministers, United Nations, from Ethiopia itself, from Sudan, have been campaigning and talking about this project. So, Dr. Tayseer, thank you very much. I know this has been not an easy thing for you to also connect from Abu Dhabi. She's joining us now from UAE, and we appreciate very much your time. And as I said earlier, and I would like to repeat it again, all the biography of those experts available online, and they are contactable. Yes, they are very busy, but they do make themselves available. Dr. Tayseer, the floor is yours, and you can start your presentation.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, everybody? And thank you very much for giving me this chance to speak about a subject which is very close to my heart because of its all of its effects to our beloved homeland, Sudan. Sorry, I had technical problems earlier, so but that's sorted now. And thank you very much, Dr. Alam, for this introduction. And I hope over the next few minutes, we will be able to go through a few, just a touch or a glimpse about this dam. I'm just going to share my slides. Today, we're going to speak very basically, briefly into the health, safety, and hazards for the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. As you can see, basically, this is the stretch. This picture is a nice one, actually. It has, it shows where the dam is, and it shows where the spillage is. Just a second. Yeah. So this is where the dam is, and this is what we call the spillway, and this is the saddle dam, which is causing all the havoc mainly. This one is also havoc, but the saddle dam, most of the water of the reservoir is really stored here, and this is the Blue Nile province. Okay. Now, let's just touch a little bit on what are we talking about when we say safety. First of all, safety is an ongoing process. It starts with the initial stages when any project is an idea. So really, all the safety should have started when it was only just an idea. Point number one, very important to remember. Then, safety comes at a cost that the Ethiopian Dam project, if something has, failed to take into account, okay, or the risks, okay, that do not being catered for in the cost of the Sudanese. So, safety is a very important thing that we always should look, because it can make or break things, okay? Now, risks, another thing which is basic that we need to know, what are risks? Risks, we have some acceptable risks and non-acceptable risks. Why? Why do we talk about this? We talk about acceptable and non-acceptable risk because if any project has an unacceptable risk, even if it is 0.0001, okay, it makes it void, okay? We cannot go for it, okay? So the objectives today, we want to talk about all these safety issues. However, I thought the best thing is we need to really understand a few things before we can all, by the end of this, assess our own opinion or formulate our own opinion, rather me telling you. I can tell you straight away what's going to happen, but I want you to make your own opinion. Now, in 1902, an agreement was formed okay, which prohibited Ethiopia from building dams on Benishangul region. Well, Benishangul, for those of you who don't know Benishangul, Benishangul is a region that historically, well, until now, it belongs to the Sudan, but it has been given by the British people to support Ethiopia to manage it. Okay, Benishangul is one of the most really rich spots in the world. Okay, so they gave the British people, they gave it to Ethiopia to run it, with one thing, that they shouldn't be building any dams on it unless it is basically okay by the downstream countries, which is Egypt and Sudan. Okay. Now, in 2011, the Sudanese people were surprised by a dam being built, which is basically the Renaissance Dam, and that Ethiopia started actually building it. Sadly, we didn't know about it till it was already started. Now, what is this dam? Actually, there are two, as you saw in the first picture. There is a concrete one, which is about 40, we call it the border dam, and it is 40 kilometers away from the Blue Nile province. And the advised capacity at the time for that border dam was advised to take 11 billion cubic meters. Now, the Saddle Dam, which is in Benishangul, and it is only 12.5 kilometers away from the Blue Nile province. And the capacity, the declared one now is 74 billion. However, there are talks that it is actually coming to 9 billion cubic meters. Now, the GERD, or the Saddle Dam, it retains 89% of the live storage of the reservoir. So you can see, okay, how big is this storage or reservoir of water. In fact, its volume is in excess of the mean annual flow of the Blue Nile itself. So you can really know how, you know, what the size of the issue that we're going to talk about. Now, the Ethiopian, well, the GERD, as we call it, okay? Why is all of this happening? Okay, let's take a look about what is, you know, fear of the unknown. I always say it's about fear of the unknown. First of all, this GERD is constructed in a mountainous area. Fact. Okay, we have limited information collected on key environmental factors. There is lack of information about studies for site, condition, hazards, and any other environmental impacts. There are lack of information to whether the current structure of GERD could actually withstand the 74 billion cubic meters or not. And there is lack of information about the details of the legal aspects that might impact Sudan for generations to come. And also there is lack of information to whether the current configuration, okay, would actually enable us or enable the Sudanese to have water actually released from that reservoir once, you know, if we need it. So these are a lot of variables that we actually don't know. So I called it, really, this is dealing with the unknown. Now, generally, you will find, you know, dams, they have historically, dams are being made because they are the cheapest source of energy. Okay, and therefore, historically, they have always been there with us. However, they can also have a lot of failure rate. And the reasons for that, in all dams in general, not only specific to this one, number one, prolonged periods of rainfall and flooding. Too much rainfall, it will affect the dam, okay? And this is the main cause of failure, of dam failures. Second, the presence of geological structures, example, faults, joints, falls in the rocks. Our geologist colleagues would understand that better. And then the reservoir silting and sediment accumulation in the dam's walls, okay, due to insufficient dam spillways. Then land slides into reservoirs, and this causes surges that results in overtoppling of water on the top of the reservoir. Then earthquakes, which typically cause longitudinal cracks at the embankments of the reservoir, and they are one of the leading structural failure, leading to one of the most issues of failure. Imagine a reservoir, okay, this land, okay, it is what we call it a virgin land, nothing is there. Suddenly you bring, massive amounts of water and you literally store it there. If you just imagine, if you just get a bucket and put it in the garden and keep on, okay, filling it with water, eventually you will see, okay, it's going to dip. And when it dips, what it is going to do? If it is, it depends on what sort of bucket you are using. Okay, you need to know what sort of bucket you are using, how is it going to withstand all that pressure, so on and so forth. Now, as I said, there are very few studies. As we said, we are dealing with the unknown. However, we could only find very few studies. One of them is this called the remote sensing techniques. And these have been deployed to map factors that can lead to the GERD failure and predict the flooded areas in Sudan and seawater intrusion in the Nile Delta or Egypt. For the sake of this presentation, I'm going to concentrate only on Sudan. Now, the GERD is constructed, okay, in a remote area where limited data has been collected on key environmental and social factors, and therefore we're lacking information, again, on the geology, on the tectonics, ongoing maintenance of this dam, the structure itself, okay, safety inspections and continued safe services, a full environmental impact assessment. Till now, we, Sudan as a country, we do not have any of those, we don't have any of those studies. And this is one of our problems. Sorry, these slides. Okay. Now, let's see at the geography and the hydrological setting of the GERD. According to this study that has been done mainly by the utilized satellites to understand that, there is no physical actual study, okay? It says that this dam is located on the northwestern side of Benishangul Gumez region, which is characterized by high rainfall between May and October. And what did we say earlier? One of the causes of failures of dam is the high rainfall. Then the estimated annual rainfall is approximately 860 milliliters at the dam site and 2,250 millimeters in the adjoining mountainous areas. The volume of rainwater is a weather erosion agent, which affects the fill slopes, leading to gully erosions and landslides. So can you imagine now with me what we are going through? Okay, so much waterfall, so much water going there. The nature of the land itself, the mountains, the slides, the slopes, okay? And now, a little bit about the further geology, okay? This GERD, not only it stays on this kind of rock, metamorphous rocks area. However, it is also between two hills. The right hill is 1,400 meters above sea level, and this is mainly composed of intrusive acidic rocks, and a left hillside, which is 1,100 meters, composed of metamorphic rocks such as chloride slate. What is this? Basically, the intrusive acidic rocks and the metamorphic rocks, they kind of oppose each other. Some of them are harder, some of them are less hard, some of them, so there is a tension, okay, between these two mountains. And this dam is actually in the middle of these, between these two kind of rocks. So these rocks are characterized by, as a result of this pull and push, okay, the rocks are characterized by cleavage and foliation, causing water leakage and rock erosion, leading to the formation of sand and clay. Therefore, most of the lithology of the GERD site is easily erodible. So basically, the basis of it is easily erodible, undesirable, and with no stable foundation. So we are dealing now with a construction, a massive construction, okay, which is actually with very unstable base, literally, okay. Now, this is a map of the tectonic map. I'm not going to go into details, but the summary of this is basically, if you can see, these are the layers of the earth, as in simple terms, that would move somehow, and we can see the direction of the movements towards our beloved country. Okay, so these are all not far away from the GERD. Some of them are 700 kilometers, some of them are 350 kilometers away from where the place is. Now, another thing, topographic slopes as a cause of failure. We have spoken about the nature of the land, okay? We have spoken of the landslides and flash floods, okay? May produce and increase the sediments in the reservoir. Okay, so this is now a reservoir. You have landslides. Sometimes these landslides, as you can see in the picture, okay, you see, this is what we call a landslide. Sometimes they open and it just falls on, you know, what we call landslides. And this is also another picture of a typical landslide. As a result of this, lots and lots of sediments, they will get really entrapped into the reservoir, making it more and more heavy. Okay, now, the silting content may lead to spillway failure of the GERD. Remember that, you know, spillway, we've seen the border dam, the spillway, and the saddle dam, if you remember the first picture. So the silting content may lead to spillway failure of the GERD, and this can also lead to further problems environmentally, okay, in the river itself, and we'll talk about this in more details later on. Okay, now the estimation of the sedimentation risk of the GERD, okay, is not known. So really, we are really in the dark. We don't know all about this. Okay, now the environmental impacts of the GERD, okay, what will happen to the other countries? Just forget about anything else. Now we know the nature of the land, okay, the nature of the highlands, okay. These, because of the mountainous areas, okay, waterfall, okay, from these very high levels, they just come gushing, as you can see here in the picture, okay. This gush of water, which can happen due to anything, flood, heavy rainfall, anything, okay, changing climate, okay. This amount, imagine, this water is falling from 520 meters towards the lower land, and the dam itself is about 480. So can you see this severe, you know, loads of amounts of water coming with this momentum in a high speed and coming down, okay. It may also take the GERD itself, okay, and take everything on the path leading down to Khartoum, beyond Khartoum, and all the way to down to Egypt. Okay, let's speak a little bit about the rainfall and the meteorological factors that could be contributing to dam failure. Okay, an extreme rainfall event, let's say more than 2,500 millimeters for a few days, will definitely cause an increased stream flows, resulting in the water levels in the reservoir to reach as high as 175 meters. So it topples the reservoir itself, okay? Unpredictable downstream flooding hazards may also exist, okay, in different areas, even in Khartoum itself, due to any reasons, okay, or due to the failure of somehow, this causing more flooding, okay, and more consequences of the flooding, okay. An increase of the water level and overflow due to unprecedented flash floods may also lead to the spillway and dam problems, and ultimately dam failure, you know. So what is this flash floods? Flash floods basically are floods that happen momentarily, okay, anytime between 10 and 6 hours of heavy rainfall, causing sudden gushes of water, and this by itself can be very challenging in a number of places. Now, the GERD reservoir creates extra water pressure in the joints. Remember the nature of the land, okay? And the bedrock underneath the GERD. This could lead, okay, to earthquakes, because you know the earth is not used to this kind of pressure and this size, okay? And suddenly we might start seeing earthquakes in the area. Not only we have already started, actually 2 months ago, there was one in Damazin, and they seem to occur a lot, okay? So these earthquakes, they might not be as massive as, you know, as we can imagine, but they are strong enough to do cracks in these constructions and man-made constructions. Okay, now globally, dam failures do happen, okay? Several dams all over the world, especially in India, have been destroyed owing to unprecedented flash floods, causing mass debris and accumulation and problems in the dam spillways. 35% of the dam failures were the result of floods, okay, exceeding the capacity of the spillways, and 25% were the results of design and foundation problems, such as landslides, earthquakes, and excess pore pressure, etc. Okay, in the environmental impact, okay, the dam will reduce the amount of suspended sediment or silt and increase the evaporation rate, salinity, and pollution of the water. The deterioration of the water quality in return will affect all the environment around, the birds, the mammals, our cattle, our fish, you name it. Farming along the Nile banks depends on flood irrigation, as we all know. This will be lost, leading to famine, desertification, and consequences, you know, even consequences of the nature of the crops that we grow. For instance, in the Blue Nile province, one of the main things that, you know, Gadarif and Sinjar and all these places, okay, we grow sesame. Sesame specifically, and this year actually it has already started, okay, it needs rain, a period of rain and a period of dryness. After that, okay, if this is affected, if the rain has extended like last year, then we will lose our productivity in crops like important crops like sesame, so on and so forth. Okay, the dryness of the lands that can happen actually with the GERD, because we are not in control of how much water is coming to us, the dryness will lead to loss of moisture in our fertile lands, and this will affect our livestock, which we depend a lot on it. This is a picture of one of our fellow Sudanese. People are already starting to feel the drought, and here he said that the water level is down even today. He says he's 65 years old, he's been a farmer all his life, and it has never been like this before. Now, again, going over very quickly over the dam failure. So always there is risk posed by the GERD's extensive saddle dam, and this may not have been fully appreciated or analyzed, we don't know. The design, construction, safety measures, maintenance of the saddle dam, they need to be rigorously scrutinized by all of the 3 countries. Then a detailed plan is needed to carefully and continuously monitor the safety of the structure and repair any problems as they arise. Problems with the GERD saddle dam would entail significant maintenance costs for Ethiopia. Is Ethiopia going to pay? Can they afford it or not? A significant rupture of the dam would have potentially catastrophic consequences on Ethiopia itself, as because of the hydropower that they are looking forward and infrastructure, but to us, we have catastrophes from our economic and humanitarian disasters, okay, when the water gets released by the saddle dam failure. Okay, consequently, the GERD will flood about 1,700 square kilometers of forest, approximately 811 kilometers from Addis Ababa, but only 12.5 kilometers from the Blue Nile Sudan border, creating a dam reservoir that will hold up to the declared one is 74 billion cubic meters, as we explained, and the undeclared is 90. Failure of the dam would wipe away the Nile Sudan strip. displacement of indigenous residents of Benishangul and neighboring Blue Nile province, environmental impacts due to loss of forest, agricultural impact, and livestock. Now, this is just a glimpse of the population that's likely going to be affected. I know that we have been very, everyone has been stressed by the corona. The corona, just for comparison, everyone globally is concerned because the corona is going to kill 2.4%, okay, of the people of any population. Well, let me break this news for you. The GERD is going to, it has the high risk of possibility of killing about 5 million Sudanese, and this is 12%. So you can imagine from the risk point of view, what are we talking about? What are we thinking about? Okay, so all of this Sudan, all the Nile areas will be completely destroyed. Now, again, our agriculture will also be affected horrendously because we are going to lose the, big plots of agriculture. We are going to have dryness, okay? We will need to change our strategy, and we need to move to irrigating agriculture. The change will affect 1 million hectares and will require the construction of costly canals and drainage networks, and will cost billions of dollars, which Sudan economy is unlikely to afford. So we really need to get thinking. Dryness, just a few pictures from the dryness and the effects that we would be looking into, from the displacement of the people to the dryness to the changing climate that could be associated with it. Now, one of the most important things which we cannot really disregard is the seeds of conflict that are happening. And by the way, seeds of conflict, okay, they are also considered within the safety and the health and of the individuals, because conflicts are a problem and they will affect lives and they will affect many generations to come. First of all, is that there is always this question, is this dam legal? So there was no prior notification, and this prior notification is something that it is agreed that if any country is going to make anything, they should have something called what we call the prior notification, okay? And this is internationally, it's an international obligation. Well, till now we don't have this. Another thing, the lack of a power trade agreement, okay, may affect the quantity of water that can be released from the GERD reservoir to downstream neighbors. So for all of us, why do we need to have these agreements? Because, okay, if Ethiopia decides that they want more electricity, they might say, you know what, we are going to release some water because they want electricity. But there could come a time and they say, no, this time actually we are not generating. So if they're not generating, we're not getting any, okay? So if we don't have really agreements, then this is as seeds of conflict. Now, there is no policy for filling the GERD reservoir that ensures provision for sufficient flow to Sudan to meet monthly water requirements for municipal, industrial, and agricultural use, and this is a really cause of concern. Another cause of concerns, again, the power agreement, as we spoke about it. And again, both Sudan and Egypt should be especially interested in the GERD releases during the filling and periods of drought, because at these times, the interests of the downstream countries differ from those of Ethiopia. Egypt and Sudan, they will need release from the GERD to meet minimum water requirements. But Ethiopia may prefer to increase the quantity of water stored in the reservoir. See, these are all seeds of conflict. Now, concerns about the safety, okay? Definitely, the current capacity constitutes unacceptable risk. And remember at the beginning, I told you the unacceptable risk cannot be tolerated because they are, and that's why they're unacceptable. Sudan doesn't have the engineering design that needs to be reviewed and verified by the Dam Safety Office, DSO. Okay, this is a specific place, our committee that does these specific things worldwide. Then, no emergency action plan, no evacuation plan, no insurance for any losses, and no plans for the displaced residents near the dam area, and no agreements for water, okay, shares. No. So this dam, as one of our colleagues, Dr. Mufti always says, is endangering the rights of existence of a lot of humans. And it is a big human right issue. Okay, and this will take me to one of the movies, and I would really strongly advise you to watch it. It's Frozen 2, okay? And it always says, why did Anna have the dam destroyed? So I'm going to leave you with this note. Go and watch this movie, and you will understand why people do build dams. Yes, for their prosperity, but also if they, we don't mind people being prosperous, but we need to be safe. Anna realizes that her ancestors were the aggressors and that the dam was merely a tool to colonize the forest and its people. The king knew that building the dam would weaken the land downstream and make them more vulnerable to attacks. To destroy the dam was the only way to oppose the natural elements and restore power to the forest and its people, even if Arundel was for fight in the end. So on this note, we have to remember that Sudan comes first, and we have to find a way to protect ourselves. The livelihood of many of the Sudanese people is at stake with the construction of the dam. If the GERD collapses, we are at risk of losing up to 5 million Sudanese citizens who are currently living in the regions that are in close proximity to the land. Sudan is at risk of losing 12.5% of its population from a direct collapse of the dam and the catastrophic floods that will follow. On the other hand, on the assumption the GERD stands strong, we are faced with a variety of different yet grave implications. Our people who rely mostly on subsistence farming will be faced with catastrophic droughts and famine. And on this note, I leave you for and open the floor for any questions. I'm sorry for being long.
That's fine. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Tayseer. If you can stop the sharing now, so we'll go back to the mainstream. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Tayseer. I knew that it's going to be very comprehensive, and it was really very comprehensive. Now, I am very keen to remind those who are with us now, we have the other paper as well, the production of sustainable cement in Sudan, which was presented earlier jointly by Dr. Eltahir and Dr. Salma. Now, the floor is open for question. Before I ask the question, I gathered here from my notes. Now, any question? Anyone would like to start? Just show the hand and then we'll give you the floor. Because I can only go with what I see. I mean, I got notes here from the Facebook and so on, but two very interesting topics. And we continue to have this issue. Any question? I can look at the chat as well. If you have a question, just show that hand. Okay, Dr. Eltahir, let's start with you because there's lots of people, they make it more of a, sometimes, by the way, the comments on the social media is being studied by people. You find it funny sometimes, but actually it's not funny, it's serious. One of them saying to you, Dr. Eltahir, you don't even have access to electricity. Are you serious? You're talking to us about sustainable concrete production, cement production? Dr. Eltahir, can you hear me?
Hello, bro.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I am here. Can you
someone asking you, he said it in a funny way in Arabic, because you know I can read Arabic. He says, are you serious? You're talking to us about something. What he's trying to say, I think the question is that are you not dreaming too much? You don't even have electricity. Are you serious about talking to us about sustainable? Do you want us to think about sustainability in the production of concrete. And we don't even have electricity?
Yeah, I am thinking about these days we have more problem in electricity because there is some problems to production of electricity, but we need to develop another way to make green building or to make sustainable concrete.
So you are convinced, despite our problems, and even with this COVID-19, we cannot ignore the issue of sustainability, because sustainability is and will continue to be the main challenge for us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how realistic and how hopeful you are, we will see the production of concrete cement, not only in Sudan, but in developing countries very soon. How confident or how hopeful you are?
In Sudan or in other country?
In Sudan and other developing countries.
In Sudan, really, Prof, we have a lot of research, talk about green building, talk about green concrete, talk about sustainable concrete. But the problem in the implementation of this research. In another building, in another countries, I see some building, it is sustainable, but in Sudan, we need more research to do if our buildings is sustainable or not. Sustainable in building, not in concrete only, but you say in electricity, in the some major fields, another field to do the sustainable in building. But in another country, I see some building is sustainable, but in Sudan, not yet.
Okay, Dr. Tahir, no problem. Thank you very much. And I will discuss after we finish this session with our team to see if we can use your original slides wide on the screen when they produce or reproduce and edit your video. Now, okay. Dr. Tayseer, can you hear me, Dr. Tayseer?
Yes, I can.
Dr. Tayseer, one question I think will summarize most of the comments I have seen here on the Facebook and the YouTube. What is the solution, Dr. Tayseer? I mean, what you said is like many other commentators. Many people have argued about the seriousness and the hazard health issue and so on. The agreement, Egyptians and also lots of commentators from Egypt have almost shared similar and other things from their point of view. Because for Egypt is really the issue of how much more water they will get. But the issue from Sudan, as you read it from scientists like yourself. Now, many of the comments here, if I summarize them, what is your suggestion of the solution, given that this dam already almost finished, not almost finished, but is nearly there. There's almost billions of dollars is being spent. What is your solution? Give us a solution. Imagine the Prime Minister of Ethiopia is listening to you. What is your solution? Stop it? He will not stop it.
Well, actually, yeah, this is obviously, we've always been thinking about what is the solution that will work for everyone. Mm-hmm. First of all, we need to acknowledge a few things before we put anything. First of all, Ethiopia has more than 120 million people, or 110, something like that. The mm-hmm. same is Egypt. We are only 41, and historically, we have always been like this. These two places, they are, they have so many people, and we always sustained, our special or our numbers anyway. Okay, mm-hmm. We have the land, yes. Okay, they have the manpower. Let's put it that way. Okay, I think as a step, first of all, we need to stop everything. Ethiopia really needs to stop what it is doing now, whatever it is, okay? And we sit down together, okay? Point number one, the capacity of this dam is not sustainable. It is not. So number one is the capacity. We have to come to terms, or Ethiopia has to come to terms, that a capacity of 74,000 or 90,000 billion cubic meters, okay, is not something that we can accept or sustain, because it's going to demolish us. This is point number one, okay? Number two, we have to have all the studies that we have spoken about, okay, the missing information, because, you know, Sudan is actually a partner. It doesn't matter who paid the money, but Sudan is a partner, because you have seen this GERD is actually 12.5 kilometers from the Blue Nile province, let alone Benishangul, which is historically Sudan, which is a Sudanese land. Okay. The other thing, obviously from the political point of view, we can always negotiate. Okay, this is what happened with with Benishangul. What are we doing here? Are you giving us back Benishangul, or are we sharing resources, or what is going to happen? But fundamentally, we need to have, everything needs to stop, number one. Number two, our committee, who is actually leading the negotiations, I think they need new blood, and because they need to see things from a different angle, basically. And we need to speak now. We need to be serious. We need to speak. This capacity has to decrease. And then the other thing, we are partners. We have to be involved in the decisions and in the policies of how this thing is operating. It is there, yes. Okay, it needs to be. We have to be there in the operations. I'm sorry, Ethiopia paid money, but it is something that they cannot ignore the Sudanese being part of that, because this is from the political point of view, from our own safety, even from the politics point of view, okay, and this strategic place, we cannot afford not to be managing physically present, okay, in that dam operations and day-to-day things and everything. And we have to have a knowledge about all of these things. We've got to have an independent study, okay, that will actually address all our concerns, because, you know, our risks are different from Ethiopia, okay? Our risk assessment is completely different. We are downstream, they are upstream. So even if it is something, you know, we are the ones that are going to be affected. So we really need proper thing. We need to have proper planning. We need to have proper contingency, at least, you know, even evacuation things, a lot of things. The other thing, we also need, you know, the insurance packages. So we really need to start from the beginning. That's what I think.
Okay, and I think that, thank you very much, Dr. Tayseer. And that takes me back to when the Japanese introduced this new management style, even in textbook. Until the late 80s, we were using a different, I think the whole issue needs new synthesis, new ideas. Because I think what you're saying here is what Siham earlier said about New Zealand. I like that where there's still solidarity. What you're talking about capacity, we have to negotiate the capacity and stop doing anything, and then we work as a partner. The Japanese, I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, they said even when you say to someone doing business with you, it is a win-win. They said it's different than if you say win for you and win for me. They said this hand, if it goes to your partner first, it's different than you say, oh, I am winning and you are winning. So you can see we need to really be more philosophical and really change the tone. So we need to convince whatever you are proposing and many others worldwide about it's a win for Ethiopia and win for other countries and the region, because we can still see now we have a professor, he's trying his best from the morning. He can't, we have people who invited them to join from Sudan. They said they can't because there's no electricity. So the issue is very, very serious. Now, if there's any other question, any question?
On this note, I just have one thing to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the amount of electricity that is alleged to come out of the dam is not actually what has been declared. Okay, they're only going to get 1,600 gigawatts or something like that. So it's not the 3,000 that they are claiming. So there are lots of issues, and I think if we all work together as partners, okay, in that region, instead of, you know, because now there is no partnership issue, the things will improve, but we really need to have this mindset. Thank
okay.
you.
I think we have Dr. Siham from New Zealand. I can see a hand here. I'm trying to unmute you, Siham. Yes, Dr. Siham, go.
Yeah, I actually wrote the question on the side.
Okay.
But,
okay.
I mean,
but go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Tayseer is mentioning that the electricity that is coming out from this dam is not that much. So, is there another agenda? That's the question.
The question I can see, do you think that Ethiopia, Dr. Tayseer, as Siham said here on her chat, has another agenda? And what is it?
Well, technically, okay, when you look at this dam, about, you know, the size, what it is meant for, first of all, from the presentation, you would probably suss out that this dam is built to collapse, you see, because it is not sustainable. It is not me, you, Dr., you know, Prof. Alam. So you can suss out, you know, and the destruction is massive, okay? There are so many ways of getting electricity, and which could, you know, which could be tapped into. So I think definitely, whatever the reason, I don't know why they did it, but definitely whoever has done it did not put the consequences properly, or what is going to happen for generations to come, or even if there are intentions, okay, then these intentions, I don't think they have been even put appropriately, because whatever is there is unacceptable. And just imagine after, when all of this happens, and by the way, the probability of collapse is 95% within 5 years. So you can imagine at the aftermath, what is Ethiopia gonna gain from this? What is there going, you know, what are they gonna be saying? You know, yes, they will have land, definitely, to extend into, but is that it? We still have, they are gonna wipe out 12% of us. But still, if we stand together jointly, the country hasn't been put, you know, cut into bits and pieces. I think that's a seed for conflict for many years to come. And I don't think that was the right thing. If I was Ethiopia, I would go back and I would revise the situation, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Any other question? I encourage you both, Dr. Tayseer and Dr. Eltahir and Dr. Salma, who is the co-author of Dr. Eltahir, to really, I really encourage you to complete the write-up of these 2 articles, because they will be extremely useful, and we can include them in the Outlook. And as I said earlier, we do publish this Outlook from the extended version of this presentation. Now, if I can ask you all kindly to show your appreciation to this presentation. I know it sounds we are far away, but I think you can see, as Professor Emmanuel said many times last year in the UN or earlier, and this today as well, this is the beauty of what we are getting now. We have to make a positive outcome of what we are doing. Siham, who just asked the question, is calling from Auckland, New Zealand. Dr. Tayseer, she's currently in Abu Dhabi. And Dr. Eltahir is talking to us from Sudan. And earlier we had someone from Nigeria and one from Libya. And then in the morning we had, and you can see, this is really the very, very positive of what we are doing here. We are using technology, and I think that will be a big debate tomorrow. We will discuss it. Now, this concludes this session. I would like just to draw your attention, because the way we have organized this conference, we have given the opportunity to any speaker to suggest a time which suits him or her or them. And interestingly, it tends to be quite challenging again, because we got like on Wednesday, quite a lot of people have selected Wednesday. I'm not sure why. Tomorrow is also flooded with paper. It's going up to 9 o'clock tomorrow in the evening. So I hope you can bear with us. So tomorrow we starting from 10, we will finish around 9 o'clock in the evening, because in the evening we got consultants and doctors who want to talk after they do their shift. So please look carefully to the program, because it does show you the availability of people. Like earlier, we had people who are available in the morning. Siham, we are very grateful from far away in New Zealand. She has to wake up in the morning. And tomorrow, as you can see the program for tomorrow, thank you very much, Ashraf. I think we are really, really, if you like, we are very pleased to have people. I'm just going to thank them, but he jumped ahead of me. We have an excellent people like Ashraf Radwan, expert on really using this technology. You can see now he showed us the program for tomorrow. We start in the morning. We have paper from quite a big author, 5 people authoring this. Then we have paper from Jordan. Then we have one from Malaysia, and then we keep going down. And please keep looking at the program, because it keeps changing based on people availability. Some people are really facing connectivity problem. We're going to Nigeria again. We're going to UAE tomorrow as well. And then we go to the US, because you know they wake up later than us. And then we go to Sudan, we go to Nigeria, and we're going again. We're coming back in the evening to the UK to hear 3 distinguished speakers in the evening. We don't know what time we'll finish. So I would like to thank you all for watching. And also all these videos I will discuss with my colleagues and team to see how quickly we can upload them. And by the way, these videos have been extremely used and referred to, and the United Nations last year acknowledged the work we do for the diaspora. Part of what we're doing here is also to highlight the critical role of the diaspora. What we mean by diaspora, those who are either Jamaican living in the UK, so he's a Jamaican, he's a British citizen, a Nigerian or a Sudanese who is British or German or living in Switzerland or in New Zealand. These people, there was a big study by the University of California. They said the GDP generated by the diaspora across the world is 1/3 of the global GDP. Imagine the whole world GDP, 1/3 of it is by the diaspora. Nigerian in the UK, or Caribbean in Canada, or Sudanese in Britain, whatever it is. I would like to also ask you kindly to join me to thank this team. I think Ashraf Radwan, who we haven't seen him face to face, but you can see him in his picture. He has done a remarkable work this morning. He has been really helping everyone. I'm sure you all have seen. He has been extremely, extremely helpful. He managed to connect us. Dr. Iman Eltahir, all her team in Saudi Arabia. I think Dr. Ashraf is in Kuwait. I'm really, really grateful. We also got Mervyn following from London, or from Bath actually, and also Janet is following. Many people have been following on the, you don't see them, you have seen me, but there's so many people behind the scene. They have been really, really working very hard, and they have been solving every single. We are very grateful for all of you. There's some people even I don't know their names, but all your team in Saudi Arabia, Dr. Iman, all your team, Ashraf in Kuwait, and it's been a pleasure for all your help, Mervyn, all of them. And there's still a lot of follow-up work. So thank you very much. We will leave you now. We will start tomorrow, 10 o'clock. But please, please look to the program so you can manage yourself well. You know what time is everything. And unfortunately, those times we have to stick to them, because these are all times built according to people's availability. So thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.
So please remember, if we all help and do a little bit, it will make a big difference.